My coworker slept in meetings, got the promotion, they gave me $50 and a clap. So I made a quiet move that left the whole office stunned. My name is Layla. And the day they handed me a $50 gift card in front of the entire department after I literally saved our biggest client from pulling a multi-million-dollar deal, something snapped quietly inside me. Everyone clapped. I smiled. And I quietly died inside. While they celebrated Alex, who spent most of his time taking breathers in the break room, scrolling social media during meetings, and slacking off so smoothly he could teach a masterclass, I was the one who spent 2 straight nights reworking the proposal deck, building the crisis pitch, and meeting with the client at 3 a.m. to salvage the deal.
And still,
they gave him the promotion. They gave me $50. I didn't cry. I didn't protest. I just stood there, gift card in hand, thinking, they really think this is it. That I'll keep being the fixer in the background while others take credit with a smile and a suit. But I wasn't angry. I was awake. Because that moment wasn't the ending. It was the beginning of something much bigger. I didn't want revenge. I wanted value. And I was about to show them the difference. The office buzzed the next day with rumors. Some said I was leaving. Others thought I was planning a formal complaint. What I actually did, I called someone I hadn't spoken to in over a year. Is the offer still open? I asked quietly. There was a pause on the other end. Layla, yes.
Come in tomorrow.
We've been waiting for someone like you. That night, I didn't sleep from anger. I stayed awake from clarity. Because when they clapped for me like I was some intern getting a pizza party prize, they had no idea. They'd just push me into my glow-up. And by the time they'd realize it, I'd be the one holding the pen that wrote their next performance reviews. The next morning, I didn't put on my usual pastel office blouse or the black slacks I'd ironed every Sunday for 4 years. I wore beige flats, my old leather backpack, and a soft blue shirt that made me feel like me again, not like a corporate shell shaped to sit through endless Zoom calls while others played politics. I didn't write a resignation letter.
I didn't owe them that.
I walked into the office with my head high and my silence louder than ever. People looked up, probably expecting me to bring muffins again like I always did when morale was low. That's what I was to them, a team player. The one who held the department together. The one they leaned on during chaos, but never raised up when it was calm. Layla. Quick question. Someone from finance called. I didn't stop walking. I moved straight to my desk, unlocked my drawer, took my USB drive, and quietly deleted every single backup of the client systems I'd rebuilt last month. The ones they never gave me credit for. I didn't sabotage anything, but I took what was mine. The door to Alex's new glass-walled office was open. He was inside, feet up on the desk, laughing at something on his phone. I stared for a second longer than I should have. He didn't even notice me. That stung more than the gift card. Just a few weeks ago, I stayed up with him on a late-night call helping him fix the proposal that landed him this role. He said, "You're the real MVP, Layla. I couldn't have done this without you." Apparently, he could, at least when the bonus hit. I walked out of the office that day with no scene. No drama. No slamming doors. But here's the thing about silent exits. They echo the loudest when success follows. By the time I reached the elevator, my heart was hammering with equal parts fear and adrenaline. Was I really doing this? Was I walking away from 4 years, a stable income, a career ladder, just like that?
Yes.
Because staying was starting to feel like slow death in a bright office. I took a deep breath and pressed L. 1 floor down was the underground garage where my little dented car waited like an old friend. I'd parked in spot number 37 every day since I started. But today it felt like I was seeing it for the last time. I didn't drive home. I drove across town to a glass building with no fancy nameplate. Just a gold logo etched quietly on the glass, Sable and North. The moment I walked through the doors, the scent of fresh paint and real ambition hit me like a warm slap. The receptionist looked up and smiled like she'd been expecting me. "Miss Layla Khan?" I nodded. "They're waiting for you on the 14th floor. Would you like a coffee?" I blinked. Actually, yeah. Black. No sugar. I wasn't used to being treated like someone who mattered. But I was about to learn. When the elevator opened again, I stepped into a boardroom with 3 people. None of them wore suits. Just clean clothes and sharper eyes. And then I saw her, Mira Alvi.
CEO.
Tech genius. The same woman who spoke at my university 6 years ago and offered me a position right after my graduation, an offer I'd turned down back then because my parents wanted me to go for something safe. Mira stood and opened her arms. You finally showed up. I laughed nervously, but she didn't smile out of politeness. She smiled like someone who saw a spark she once had to fight the world to protect. Let's get to work, she said, motioning to the chair beside her. I sat down. They pulled out the launch files for a brand new app, an enterprise-level product that could change the entire internal operation structure for corporations, streamlining communication, project tracking, and live feedback systems. We need someone who knows how broken corporate culture actually is, Mira said. We need someone like you. That was the day I stopped being the support girl. I became the head of strategic integration at Sable and North, with my own team, my own say, and a 6-figure starting offer that didn't come with a $50 gift card. 3 months passed. 3 brilliant, backbreaking, breathless months. I wasn't easing into my new role, I was building it from scratch. My first week at Sable and North, I slept maybe 5 hours total. I was learning a new system, building protocols, interviewing potential hires, and creating frameworks no one had ever done before. But every night, when I finally collapsed into bed with my laptop still glowing on my chest, I smiled. Because for the first time in my life, I wasn't overworking to prove myself. I was overworking because I believed in what I was building. And people believed in me. Mira didn't micromanage. She didn't question my vision. She let me own it. Every presentation I gave, every roadmap I laid out, she nodded like she already knew I could do it. That kind of leadership? It changes people. And it changed me. Then one Friday morning it happened. I was at the Sable Cafe on the 12th floor, reviewing the integration proposal with our new legal head when my phone buzzed. A familiar number flashed across the screen. I froze. It was my former company's corporate number. Curious, I answered. Hello. Layla. It was Martin, the department head who once told me I was the glue, but never once backed me for a promotion. His voice was tight, uneasy. We were facing some major setbacks on the client systems. Some of the internal structures are crashing unexpectedly, and our consultants haven't been able to pin down the root issue. I stare out the window, heartbeat steady. I already knew what he was talking about. They were finally hitting the walls I'd patched and propped up for years. Systems I'd silently maintained, fixed in the background, automated under my name, until they pushed me out with a smile and a $50 slap. I see, I said calmly. Listen. Martin exhaled hard, like it hurt him to say the next part. Would you consider consulting for us on this? Just short term. We're willing to discuss a generous fee. I didn't answer right away, because in that moment I realized something. They didn't value me until they lost me. They didn't even see me until the gears I kept running finally broke in my absence. I could have hung up. I could have told him off. But instead, I glanced at my schedule and said, send over the details. I'll review them.
Why?
Because real power isn't in slamming doors. It's in choosing which ones you open again and how. That evening, I brought the issue to Mira. I wanted to be transparent. She leaned back in her chair and smiled, sipping her jasmine tea. Consult for them. Triple your rate. And if they flinch, tell them we're hiring instead. I smiled. That's not revenge, is it? No, she said, eyes twinkling. That's business. And karma, politely invoiced. The next week, I walked back into my old office building, not as an employee but as an external consultant. They had cleared out the third-floor conference room for me. There was a nameplate that said Ms. Layla Khan, Systems Consultant. Alex walked in 10 minutes late. Some things never change. He froze when he saw me. Layla? I nodded. Good morning. You're here to help? I nodded again, opening my laptop without looking at him.
Yes.
And let's try to keep this professional. For the next hour, I explained exactly where the infrastructure flaws were, how the team had misapplied core functions, and how the issues had compounded because of overlooked integrations, issues I'd warned about months before I left. People listened, took notes. And when I stood to leave, Martin followed me out, saying, "You know, if you ever want to come back full-time, we can talk." I paused by the glass door, smiled. "Thank you, Martin. But I already have a seat at a table where my voice isn't just heard, it's valued." And I walked away. Not bitter, not smug, just free. Because when someone finally sees your worth, not after a breakdown, not after a failure, but from the beginning, you never settle for less again. That was the day my past tried to reclaim me. And I said no, with a smile. A month after consulting for my former company, I got a card in the mail. No email. No phone call. Just an envelope with my name written in shaky cursive. Inside was a simple handwritten note. "Thank you for not slamming the door behind you. I've decided to leave, too. You gave me the courage I needed. Priya." I stared at it for a long time.
Priya.
She was one of the few who used to share lunch breaks with me, even when others ignored me. Soft-spoken, brilliant, but constantly overlooked because she wasn't loud in meetings or aggressive enough in proposals. We used to call ourselves the invisible department, a joke that never really made either of us laugh. Now here she was, choosing herself, walking out the same way I had, except this time, she didn't walk out alone. I placed the note gently on my desk and stared at my reflection in the glass. I didn't recognize the woman staring back. She looked calm.
Certain.
Sharper around the eyes. Softer in the heart. And then something clicked deep inside me. What if we built something more? Something that didn't just reward talent, but saw it before it had to scream to be noticed. A place where people like Priya didn't have to leave to grow. A place that didn't confuse quietness with weakness. That same night, I stayed in the office past midnight, drafting a new initiative proposal. Not for Mira. For everyone. A program inside Sable and North called Echoline. The idea was simple. An internal mentorship and promotion fast-track specifically designed to identify hidden talent, especially those in support roles, often overlooked but foundational. Admins. Assistants. Junior analysts. People like me, for years ago. Mira read the proposal in silence the next morning. She didn't say anything for a full minute. Then she looked up, eyes glinting with something warm and fierce. "I want this rolled out by next quarter." "Really?"
No, she smiled.
"I want it rolled out yesterday. Let's get moving." We launched Echoline 6 weeks later. The first cohort had 8 people, none of them with titles higher than coordinator. But every single one of them showed up like they were finally being seen. There was Joel from the mailroom, who coded in secret at night. Sarah from admin, who rewrote our HR workflows in one weekend. Avi, who created an internal dashboard just for fun that saved us 6 hours of reporting weekly. It lit something inside the company. People started paying attention. Middle management got nervous. Senior leads started asking questions.
Good.
Disruption wasn't the goal, but recognition was. And while all this unfolded, something unexpected happened. My old company started losing clients. Quietly, gradually, but noticeably. One by one, accounts started transferring, clients who had worked with me before and reached out to see where I'd landed. I didn't chase them. I didn't pitch them. They just came. And as they joined Sable and North, one after the other, my name started floating around in meetings I wasn't even part of. Not as the girl who helped the pitch. Not as the support analyst. But as someone who knew what she was doing. The moment that changed everything? A letter from the CEO of my former company. It wasn't angry. It wasn't manipulative. It was regretful. He wrote, "We let go of someone who carried more weight than we ever acknowledged. Your departure was a loss. Watching you rise has been both painful and inspiring. If there's ever a way to collaborate, know the door is open." I didn't reply, because some doors, no matter how wide they're reopened, are better left closed. Instead, I picked up the phone and called someone else. "Hi, Priya," I said. "I have something for you." We're building a new vertical inside Echoline focused on creative systems design. You'd be perfect to lead it." There was silence. And then, a choked whisper. "You're serious?" "I wouldn't offer if I wasn't." She showed up the next week, shaking with nerves. I stood beside her during orientation and watched as others turned to greet her, not with dismissal, but with respect. That night, she left a sticky note on my office door. "You're not just building systems. You're building bridges." "Thank you."
I stared at it for a long time.
Because the truth is, I didn't just want to win. I wanted to make space. For every person told they were too quiet, too kind, too soft-spoken, too behind the scenes to ever lead. Echoline grew. Our division doubled. We got recognition across industries. But more than that, I started sleeping better at night. Not because I had money in the bank, but because I finally felt like I was living with purpose. And no $50 card could have ever bought that feeling. A year after I left my old job, everything in my life looked unrecognizable. I no longer counted coffee spoons at home to ration between paydays. I didn't triple-check rent dates. I didn't apologize before speaking in meetings. My days were full, sometimes overwhelming, but rich with purpose. And people finally said my name in rooms I wasn't in with respect. But real growth isn't measured by titles or salaries. It's measured by the moments you're tested again, and again, and again. And one such moment came on an unexpected Tuesday, under rain clouds that hovered above our headquarters like bad omens. I was in the elevator, holding a tablet, on my way to present Echoline's annual impact report to the board. It was a milestone, one that could secure national expansion funding. Years of work, silent sacrifices, quiet tears, and small victories, all led to this. The elevator stopped on the 10th floor. The doors opened, and in walked Alex. Same polished shoes. Same smug walk. But there was something missing from his eyes. The confidence he used to wear like a tailored suit had frayed. "Layla," he said, stunned. I simply nodded. He stepped in, stood beside me, awkward, hesitant. He adjusted his tie. I didn't realize you were here now. I've been here for a while." "Right." He looked down. Then, without turning to me, he muttered, "I heard about Echoline. It's impressive." I didn't answer. Not because I wanted to be cold, but because I didn't know him warmth anymore. Then he said it, quietly, like it hurt. "I'm actually applying here. They let me go last month." They let him go. My chest tightened, not with satisfaction, but with a strange sadness. He'd been handed everything, and still, he'd lost it all. We reached the top floor. The elevator dinged. I stepped out first. "Layla," he called, before the doors closed again. "For what it's worth,
"I'm sorry."
for everything, you deserved better." I turned back, looked him dead in the eyes, and I said, not with bitterness, but clarity, "You were never the problem, Alex. The system that rewarded you for doing nothing was." The doors slid shut, and I walked into the boardroom. The presentation was a blur, charts, testimonies, projections. But I remember how the boardroom felt. Every executive nodded slowly as the numbers sank in. Over 40 internal promotions across departments. An 89% retention rate for Echoline participants. Increased revenue directly linked to overlooked innovators. And then, the chairman, an older man with silver-framed glasses, asked the one question that froze the room. "Layla, what made you build this? You could have chased your own success. Why lift others with you?" I swallowed, looked down at my hands, and answered the only way I knew how. Because I was once the girl who was handed a $50 gift card for saving a company. Because I used to think silence was the price of stability. Because I watched others break under praise they didn't earn while I patched everything behind the scenes. Because no one should need to break just to be seen. And I wanted to build something where people like I once was could walk in and feel safe to grow. To be noticed. To be valued without shouting. That's what Echoline is. The room went silent. And then applause. Not polite, but powerful. 3 weeks later, the national expansion was greenlit. Echoline went countrywide. I was named Chief Impact Officer. And for the first time, my work had a ripple effect across industries. But that wasn't the moment I cried. The moment that broke me was the day I got a message from Camille, the janitor from my old company. She wrote, "I heard what you're doing. I never said anything back then, but I watched you work late after everyone left. I used to think, she deserves more. You gave me hope, Layla. And now my daughter's applying to your mentorship program. Thank you." I wept for hours. Because somewhere along the way, I stopped needing to prove myself. I became someone who paved the way for others. I wasn't interested in revenge. I wasn't out to destroy the people who overlooked me. I was too busy building the thing I always needed but never had. So, if you've ever been clapped for after giving everything, if you've ever smiled through being passed over, if you've ever walked home with a $50 gift card and a burning lump in your throat, let this story be a reminder. Your worth isn't decided by who sees it, but by whether you do. And when you do, the world shifts, one quiet move at a time.